Welcome, Club Cult. Good evening. Happy Sunday, Funday. Incoming Serena Spain. Welcome to, drumroll please, Stream the Dreams Project. Hope everyone's had a lovely weekend so far. Pull us out of purgatory here. There we go. Beautiful. Playlist is not playlisting tonight. But that's okay. And bop into some doom. Doom, 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 doom. Blurp. I want this over here. No, don't be loud. Got it. Just in time. All the zooms. Swap our categories. I think I actually figured out why I can't get Twitch to work on new computer. And I still have to double check and test why, but I think I figured it out. There's something pre-installed that I didn't uninstall all of, and I think that's what's stopping it, which is just lovely. It's just lovely. I don't remember if we left off in a good spot or a lost spot. Lost spot last night. I guess we are in the Argent Energy Tower. Why couldn't I figure that out last night? A question for the ages. But not the Dark Ages. Yet. I saw that pop up last night. They keep forgetting we have weapon mods. L2 and then up arrow. Something was modded. Ah. J'ai compris vu. Oh lord, where did I leave us? This map is horrifying. There's a lot going on there. You made friends, not friends with him last night. Argent Energy. And so that one bitch was carrying around. Oh. Steal his health. You have to take the elevator? Why do you think I know how to climb things? I'm not getting up there. Not from there. Oh, did I leave it this? I think so. I probably could have gone and picked up more armor and things. Oops. To jump on that and take that up and over? I remember being confused by this. I guess. Whee! And away we go. To where? Oh god, don't fall in the middle.
The accumulator's energy signature indicates that it
Uppy
is near
doozy.
the top of this Argent facility.
Uppy doozy.
If she ruptures that accumulator near the Argent beam, she could open a portal to their world that we will never be able to close.
I don't think by she they mean me, but you never know. Straight into some gaming? We are. Sure enough. PB was fussing early and I'm late. So it just happened to work out that way. Welcome. Happy Sunday Funday. I hope the day has been kind to you. I don't know where I'm going. I don't like this. I don't like this. There's a little Funko Pop over there. Where even is the objective? All the way at the top of the tower. Oh my god, so I'm kind of sad, but I'm also kind of happy. A game that I really, really enjoy. Let It Die. That I don't really play too much on stream because it's online multiplayer and it makes me stressy because of that, number one. So it's like hard to focus on the fun of it. And two, it's online multiplayer, so there's interception and whatnot. Let It Die, I think, is shutting down their server, I saw on Instagram, so there's going to be only offline play after a certain point in time. And I am really selfishly happy about that. I think they're just doing that to keep the game, but have to stop funding it for understandable reasons, so, like, I shouldn't really be happy about that. It's kind of, like, akin to being happy about the pandemic. Like, it certainly didn't make me happy, but it really didn't affect me at all. Like, I was neutral through it. I don't know if they... Yeah, they do have their own. I'm hype. Welcome to Mad Topher. I hope the day is being kind to you as well. No safety rails in this elevator. They're gonna get letter. They're gonna get a fine from OSHA. How did I figure out how to open the whole post last time? There we go. Offline edition. I have, like, no voice tonight. Since launching in 2016, players around the world have been fighting their way up the Tower of Barbs. Thanks to your support, Let It Die have reached over 9 million downloads worldwide and kept climbing going for more than 9 years. I like when my brain just invents words. Now the time has come for a change. Let It Die's online service will be coming to an end, closing out its 9-year run, but don't you worry, the climb isn't over. An offline version of Let It Die will be released, so you'll still be able to explore the Tower of Barbs and keep climbing whenever you want. So expect some of that in our future, because I'm now comfortable playing it on stream. I've played it on stream a few times, and someone always threatens that they're going to come in game and kill me. And, like, that's not actually a threat. That doesn't physically worry me. But it makes me not want to play the game. It's like, boo-boo, poo-poo on you, you fool. But then I'm also the fool, because I'm not playing something that I like. Can't help but think some OSHA employees are going to be demons based on some of the safety briefings you had to sit through. Yeah. I mean, they claim to care about safety, and they do to visually implement it, but it does all come down to money, which is... Yes, they're going to let it die. Let it die is going to be let to die. Sad, but happy, and hilarious. Full circle. It's like when you hear the title of a movie in the movie, or like something someone says comes back around to the end. Full circle. It's a beautiful full circle moment. I tip my fedora to you. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if they'll have individual servers, like where you can play different versions of the world, but at the very least, it'll just be regular offline play. Maybe I'll open it up a little bit before bed. I haven't been in it forever, but it'll give kind of a preview of the layout of how it goes. I haven't paid enough attention to figure out, one, the map, or two, when they're gonna go completely offline. Oh wait, I didn't pay attention. We go all the way to the top. Mother. If I wanted to jump around, I would, excuse me, play Just Dance or Tomb Raider. Come on now. Is that more up? Good God. Good God, Lemon. There's so much up. That's gonna crush me. Like multiplayer games, we feel like the only multiplayer don't have games that are only multiplayer don't have much substance. I would kind of agree to that. I mean, do you guys see how picky I am with multiplayers? And I gravitate to ones that you can play as a solo game. And I feel like there's a lot more variety in terms of what you can do in strictly multiplayer versus it's supposed to be multiplayer, but you can single player if you must. And I must. Geronimo! No. I don't think that was right. Oh wait, that one has a one that connects all the way to it. We must find the path of least resistance and existence. God damn it. This is too tortury for torture night. I have to sneak it in on a Sunday stream. And how do you want me to get to those then? I don't hear a liar, liar, pants on fire. That's where we jumped up. I don't think that's right, but maybe I just jumped it wrong. I will give you one more try, and then I am consulting the professionals because I have zero patience for puzzles and strategy. I just want to shoot. I just want to pew-pew the pew-pews. Is there a sprint option? Not yet. We just have the double jump. That sure would be nice, though. Petition for... We have the double jump. Which doesn't... It helps a little bit with our jump forward, but it doesn't really do shit. And so far, I haven't found a way to run faster. Maybe there is a way to run faster. Can't go to options from here? Like... Rude. Weapon mod, use equipment, dossier, pause menu, fire weapon, switch weapons, weapon wheel, hold, BFG, chainsaw, crouch, jump, double jump, look, melee, blurry kill, use, photo mode, move, mission information, previous equipment, next equipment, switch weapon mode. That was sprint. Oh, what is that from? So anyway, I started blasting. What is that from? I can hear it in my head and I can't see it. What is photo mode? I take a little Doom guy selfie. L3. I didn't collect my camera yet, apparently. Hey! This cannot be the way. Oh, do I have to crawl on the pipe, like, sideways, and then to, like, a sticky outy thing? My disappointment hit me mid-word. Maybe? Bitch can't even jump up here. Like, what do you expect from me? This is above my pay grade. I have all this armor on. How do you expect this to work? That doesn't seem right. Yeah. That can't be the way of the precision. This is wrong. It looks like it would be right, but it's not. I don't know what's not right about it. Professional consultation. Vaguely remember that. Vaguely remember that. He's mid-battle, so almost there. Consult the professionals. Is this battle really that long? Lord. Oh, did I press that? Whatever that is. Did that need to be pressed? I don't even know. One thing I do like about Doom is they don't... It's very rare that you can continue into the next important thing without activating all of the necessary, not just side questy, important things that you need to get to the next thing. The only backtracking you really do is the layout of the game in terms of like storyline. So I don't think that potentially not crossing that would have mattered. I don't know though. Look at you, so cool collecting all the armor. I forgot. I don't think we jumped, do we? Huh? Oh, I think that's dead. I mean, to be fair, I had that thought too. For a moment last night, I think. I considered jumping into it, because you never know. So, the intrusive thoughts win. It's a style of game where backtracking is part of the gameplay loop. It was very evident in Doom 3 that was like heavily storyline based. I feel like this one is a good balance, as much as I bitch about the backtracking. But I didn't really see that at all within Eternal. But I kind of liked the break from it. I don't know. So you're damned if you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. But in a positive way. You're blessed if you do, and you're blessed if you don't. There we go. Yeah, I'm just as confused as you, buddy. How do? How do? How do? Okay, we got there.
accumulator's energy signature
We got there.
indicates that it is nearing the top of this Argent facility.
What?
If she ruptures that accumulator near the origin beam,
They just go around the wrong side piece? That's a big jump. Big jump, boy. I feel like we were here. Show me what to do. Show me the money. So you have to just time the double jump perfectly? Because that's something I'm very capable of doing, clearly? Son of a bitch. There are expectations for me now. He hadn't gotten to the part where I was stuck yet. He got through it, though. You just have to time the double jump perfectly. Which means we're gonna go sploot a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot. Am I on the right platform, or does it just, like, not matter? They look the same. I think it matters not. It would have been nice if they made, like, one side on easy mode, like, you just climb across, and the other side on hard mode. Where you have to do this ridiculous double jump. Okay, so instead of button mashing, we are going to approach this calmly, coolly, and collectively. To the point that we can execute this flawlessly. Yes. Okay. Okay. Jump. Jump. Oh my fucking god. So because I'm a little creaky, slow, pussy-ass, pansy-ass bitch. Didn't work. And then it did. Toy is up. Welcome, Panda. Hope you're having a good night so far. Happy Sunday. Right, that looks like a way. Is there a way the other way? Yes. Probably don't get shot by the lasers, though. That looks not good. How are they going? I've had to consult the professionals within the first 20 minutes. So that's about how they're going. Oh god, I'm scared. I don't want to fall. I'm too young to die. Okay. I feel like I have a grimace each jump. And it's out of my control. Is a laser gonna come out of there? Checkpoint reached. Oh god. Oh god. Did I go to the wrong spot? That is green. That is probably more correct. Oh my god. Oh! It's gonna smush my head. The box was green. Do I need to... Oh my god. This makes no sense. But it does. But it doesn't. But to be fair, like, look at this fucking map. It's a tower of terror. It's terrible. It sounds like it's here. This is... Someone said, here, hold my Adderall when making this level. Want to know what they make in the Demon Factory? Probably all of them. They're mass-produced here. I don't know where to go. This doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh. Okay, let me not get booped in the head, and then maybe we go up there. Behind me, or possibly in, I don't know. Either that way and up, or behind me and up. Do I crawl through the thing? Oh no, I'm just gonna get smushed in here. I literally do not know. This is how we do it. What is that from? That's so anyway, I started blasting. This is eating at my mind. Okay, Blaskowitz. Motions like this feel very Wolfenstein-y to me. What was the order of operations you even did that? If you do it first, then we have to be careful not to get impaled. If we do it after it shoots out, then it's a matter of timing. I think I'm gonna do it after. Because my timing isn't good, but my ability to get... Oh, why did I jump from crouch? Oh my god, okay, it actually worked. Ah! Ah! No! I'm not ready for you guys. It took a lot to get up here. Oh, it is! It's Frank from It's Always Sunny. Don't start blasting. Thank you. I could hear it in my head and I couldn't place it. Thank you. I appreciate the modification. I couldn't remember where it was from. I knew it, but from where? I have no more brain cells left for today. My brain had to do too much braining today. There's only Pew Pew. I left the toot up. The tutorial up. Professional streamer hiding gameplay. No, now I can't prove that I really did it. It was a fake out. It was a cop out. Pew pew. Pew pew. Okay. There's monsters again. It was a nice little break, but it was terrible. Can you use cheat codes for PS4, Doom 4? I think in Dark Ages you can on console, if I'm not mistaken. I don't actually know, though. See, whenever I'm feeling incapable, like in places like this tower, I have to remember that I've automatically already beat my dad at this game, because he didn't go past the first chapter of it. It's only half true. I only get half the credit. It's 50%. Failing grade. Dang. Humbling. You could, but it would require breaking into PlayStation. Oh. No. No. We don't want that. I don't necessarily want to, but I was curious if it was available again. God mode is tempting at times. Ah, well, shit. Okay, solid ground. Solid ground is good. We like solid ground. Oh my god. You, why are you here? This is not your home. I really appreciate that the rocket launcher kind of stuns them. It does it with him too. I thought it just did it with the... don't burn my butt. The Hell Knight. Kind of just holds him steady for a moment. He just flew in like a little Thumbelina ballerina. Oh shit. I'm in a corner. No corners. No corners. Oh, why are you so close? You don't need to do that. No, you don't need to do that either. It's against the rules, sir. What? There's two of you? I'm not okay with this. There are also many other levels or layers to this I'm now seeing. What am I doing with the shotgun? You think you're so cool? No, Serena. I should actually be using a plasma gun. I'm in a corner. It's not safe. Oh, oh, oh. We have... grenades. No, that's not how you grenade. I forgot how to grenade. Was that's chainsaw. Is it R1? I think. Just a press versus a pop out. I didn't even get up here. I didn't mean to be up here. I think my perfect little system that I lined up is just out of my purview. L1. There we go. That's better. You're bouncy. Oh. Oh wait, so if I glory kill him close enough to someone else, will he blow them up too? Whoa, that was a lot of down. I didn't grab any of it. Get off of me! One stuff! Have priorities, sir. Have priorities. So we can jump all the way to that, but not whatever I did earlier that I was trying to get to? Where's the crap ton of health that I left over here? Because I knew I would fucking need it. No, no, get down. Get down, get down, get down, get down. Get down tonight. Why you on my butt? Okay, where else is there problems? Oh my god, we survived. I missed it perfectly. That was, like, actually hilarious. No, corners are bad. In the land of Serena. And all of the zoo. Corners mean trouble. Kitty or doggy gets backed into a corner, that's not a good feeling. Serena gets backed into a corner, that's not a good feeling. We do not honor that. We do not play those games. So how did I get up to there, and what is that? That looks like a thing. You're telling me I can jump that far, but not anything else? The last jump was so difficult. And you're telling me that's so easy? You're a liar. This game is so graphics heavy. Really, anything super graphics heavy makes the PlayStation run like a fucking jet engine. The force is strong with this one. Oh, that's just a codex entry. I guess it's not just a codex entry, but still. What else did I miss down there? Just health. What's that mysterious ticking sound? I thought I was gonna miss it. Oh, where do you want me to go now? Okay, your door. How do I get to you? Is this a simple uppy jump? Is this part of the door concept? I don't know what you are. A thing to climb on? A door. Bring me indoors. Yes! Safety. 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 We're safe. We're safe. We survived. Here's our holographic friend. Activate drones. What will that do? Nothing in our immediate vicinity. Okay. You do you, boo. I feel like this system is pretty resilient, or it just gives a very premature warning. Because we've been at core heat level at maximum threshold for a while. Probably should have exploded by now. Or with good intentions. Elevator locked. So you are not the way. We keep climbing the tower. I thought we were safe. I take a lot of damage. Let's do armor. So I'm guessing that we don't go through here. Where the fuck is our next checkpoint then? Like now we're at the top. Do we go back down? I don't really want to go through all of that. That's a lot. There's still more up? We're not even at the top. We're at like the second wind fake top. It's a scam. It's a sham. It's a damn shame. OSHA mandated safety parameters have a lot of leeway. Apparently. Oh god. Do I have to ride on you? We're gonna fall. That's it. Word. Oh, you're going in! I don't know, I'm just speculating. I don't feel like I'm all the way on this. I don't know where to take this to. Not there. No. Oh. map is extremely unhelpful. It's beautiful. Like, as a piece of artwork, I would put it on my wall. But, to get through and to understand is not happening. So I feel like that was right, but, like, it executed wrong. Loop back onto our little green hovercraft. Bloop. That's green. Do we jump that way? Oh wait, no, he's another hovercraft. Oh, that's a green platform though. That's a thing. I don't know what I do with this thing. I think I did that wrong. How do we get up on the train? Oh, now I'm going back down. Damn it. I don't think that was right for over there, though. I have theories. If they don't pan out. Oops. Then we'll consult the professionals again. There's fall damage. I mean, I died, so I guess you could call it damage. I'd call it death. There is fall death. I actually am terrified of elevators. I don't like them. I used to have to sit down in them. Now I can stand in them, but I really like to hold a railing. I was really nerve-wracked on the elevator yesterday. Because we were right in the front of it, and it was super full. And that scares me. I like having something to hold on to. I was gripping Pippi's stroller, like, insanely. Maybe to that one, and then we have more berth to jump up to whatever the fucking train is. I think we have to get on the train. I don't like trains either. I'm not jumping on that. That's the same kind of platform we were just on. Can I get over to that from here? Maybe? That's some high expectations. Oh, God. I think that's how you do it. Probably go over and do it that way, but we're gonna wait. Just a moment. Just a moment. I don't even know if any of this is right. I'm just assuming. Oh no, that's definitely wrong. Dead. It gives me, like, legitimate anxiety. I'm a very sweaty girl right now. I don't know why. All shooters do. Whenever you have to, like, bop around and fly around and be precise and do the maneuverings. I'm not skilled at that. It genuinely... I feel like I'm physically jumping from building to building like I'm fucking Spider-Man. It's not my forte. It's not my fun zone. It's my anxiety zone. Okay, we went in there. We did the things. And after this, what do you do, sir? You've gotten a lot better. Well, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Doom has schooled me well. Not well enough, but well.
The road to hell is paved by Argent Energy.
I don't know what I'm doing. I think it definitely doesn't benefit me in terms of boop, 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 booping around the screen. In the way that I have like literally no sense of direction myself. I've gotten way better at reading maps just streaming the last few years. I used to be so terrible with maps and completely ignore them to my own detriment because I just refused to try to understand them. Hey, where are you going with this? That's an interesting idea. But I really do like games that give you a guide in some way. Like the general nudge in the right direction. Helps you get where you're going. If I have to figure it out myself, I'm not going to do well with it. Thank fuck for walkthroughs. I do find it interesting as well that like with older games, I'm very strict on I like the written walkthroughs versus newer games. I would say like 2015 and up versus 2015 and before. I need a visual walkthrough because games have become that dynamic and beautiful and detailed in terms of visuals and gameplay. Alright, where are we going here, friend? There's a lever! What do we do after the lever? I tried. I don't think we can jump that, dude. He's just the jumping king of the world. What was the lever? Pull the lever, Gronk. You get ample opportunities to say that in this game, and I love that. Bloop. Oh yeah. You are there. So up and lever and somehow magically do the magical jump. Oh god. Good god, Lemon. There's no lever in there. I think I'm in the wrong cubicle. Cubby, whatever it is. Okay, we're not worrying about that. If it was truly important, it wouldn't let you traverse past it. God, I guess you could make this a little easier for yourself by trying to time the jump as soon as it's like it's a little bit close, but still further away. Dead. Lever might be for a secret. Good point. I don't think it's necessary for the actual goings throughs. Just being able to jump is. I have positive feelings about that, most definitely. Scale the tower. Oh. Ooh, ee. Ooh, ee, ooh, I don't know why, but this way makes more sense to me. Bloop. Oh, I do not like this. Goofy ass fucking train. It looks closer from over there when the other thing pokes out. Can I just do those? Am I perceiving this like a silly goose? Oop. Would we be better off trying to jump to that? No. There was theories. There was thoughts. There was concepts. There was ideas. Exploration has its rewards. There are secrets located in every level. What's the secret to actually surviving anything, though? That's a true question. The road to hell is paved by Serena trying. There's a decent amount of pavement there. When you try your best and you don't succeed. There is a way over. You jumped it. I can do it too. Anything you can do, I can do better. That's a fucking lie, but I can still try. Ya da 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 da. I'm on the wrong little fairy guy. Okay. Bloop. Really? Oh, thank God. Why did he do it in hard mode? Okay, I don't know where this is fully taking us here, but somewhere. We take that across. Maybe that's a little suspicious. I think yes. It's green. God. Uh-oh. Ah! Where did you just land, sir? Oh, that is cursed. Where the fuck am I? We're in no man's land. Oh no. Oh no. No. Oh, he was still going up. Good thing we're sending a woman then. Not in this case. Not in this case. I have failed the mission. Oh. We can do it. You said we can jump on top of where do we want to go from jumping on top of the train? It's not really a train, but it's close enough to a train. Riding it around to the further point. And then jumping out to what? Oh wait, does that happen? No, just observe. Do. Yes, just be a better jumper. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but like, what is this? That cannot be what we have to do. He's on a lever pulling mission. Don't do that. No, you messed up my sense of direction, sir. He's trying to climb the tower. Oh. Are you side questing? This is all too much of the same everywhere. It's confusing. Here to over to the, oh god. Oh, okay. We'll cross the rest of that bridge when we get to it. It's like they had to send a woman to kill the witch in Lord of the Rings. I am no man. Girl power. Yeah, let's get some girl power going here. Follow the green light road. Follow the green light road. I'm trying. Just need calm, cool, collected state. Why is that taking me further from my objective? I feel like that's wrong. Why would my objective be down there? What do you want me to do down? Whatever. I'm going this hard. I'm going this far. We're going to the top even if it kills me. And if that's wrong, I just don't want to be right, apparently. Oh, I feel for you. I hope you feel better soon. Get some soup in you. Get some tea in you. Get some good rest in you. And thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate you coming in hobbled in blankets with maybe a drippy nose and some sleepy feels and still making the time to be here. It's very kind of you. Get some good EPs and we'll be crossing fingers and paws that you feel all better soon. I feel like the generally like spring break time bugs have been hitting way earlier this year. Too many people and about in the real world. Need more gamers. Okay, I don't understand this, but we're gonna try it. I'll grab the fucking thing. Don't. This is my demise. It's my demise. Supposedly our objective is only like 100 meters from here, so what do you want with that, my friend? Merp. Like, is it actually relatively over here-ish? it's way more down. I don't know if I'm willing to make that commitment. It's all the way at the beginning. Did I need to press that screen for something? Kind of feel like it's encouraging that. I may have mistaken. I'm gonna be either brave or stupid and try and figure out how to get back down a little bit, maybe. I don't even know how to do that. Maybe I did need to activate something? I don't know. How do I get down without jumping into the energy field? How do I even get up here? Huh? That's very effective. I don't know where I'm going with that one. Is it that door? That's where we just went through. I thought. No, that's completely wrong. How would we get back more down? Oh, I missed. Hi, Gunther. You feel the doom, distress, and hype. I don't know how I get up here. I don't think I can get back down from here. Come here, Bubbaloo. Come on, Baboo. Guntheroo! With your little nakey eyeballs. Nice sweet boy. Good little mans. We gotta readjust legs. There you go. I mean, I die a lot anyway, so... the one safety railing, I mean, I guess that's the one important safety railing. Keeps you from jumping into the giant laser. It makes sense. Is there really no way? How did I get into here? Excuse me. I know not what I did. I don't want to go back a checkpoint. I just don't. This is going up. I doubt it's going to take us down, but you never know what anything is. No, we're just going up. I think I've made mistakes. Oh, I meant to be on that. Oh. Well, it doesn't matter now. Does each checkpoint override each checkpoint, or can I go back a checkpoint? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No, no. You have to restart. What goes up must come down. We're going to the top, and I'm just assuming at some point it will take us all the way back to the bottom. occupying too many of my brain cells. I need those. Hi, Voya. You know, you could be scritching and rubbing on my back instead of scritching on my chair, son. Just saying. Not complaining, just saying. Stop yawning. Sheesh. Sheesh. Plug it in, plug it in. Bloop. Okay, grab. Do you think I know how to hit a moving target? No. Nay, nay. Nay, nay. My hair is wild tonight. Bedhead. Doop. I don't remember exactly what he did, but I remember roughly conceptually. Do. Maybe I'm a better lefty jumper instead of a right side jumper. Okay. When in doubt, go left. Fall. Ah! Why is there space in between these two things? And that gets zapped. That's only gonna give me so much time. Oh, fuck. Are you kidding me? What are you asking of me? I just... Came all this way to get electrocuted. This is not the red light therapy I was searching for. God. Oh, there's a path. Okay. Oh, and... I mean, that was handy dandy. He ran into the zappies. Bloop. Bloop. So at what point do I actually get somewhere else from here? Oh, it all ends here. Just let him jump into the zappies, Serena. I think I hit one of the fireballs yesterday and deflected it from myself, which was pretty cool. Okay, we're done here. Do we want more up or do we want down from there? Oh my god. Grab it. Grab it, dag nabbit. Okay, that will take us places. What is that? That's just a crate. That's not worth it. My hands are sweaty. And I have to pee. My hands are sweaty. I need to squeeze myself out like a rag before I can jump up there. Need some emotional support from Gunther. You sweet boy. You sweet boy. My socks match you, Gunther. We're blending in. Hey, little gremlin. I can't stop looking at his face. I can't believe he's bald around his eyes. Like, when their skin is irritated, they can rub the hair off quite quickly. I don't think it's been going on for a while, but, like, Lord, you've never had allergies before. Actually, I'd meant to look up. Give myself a brain break. If Silencia could cause it. Ah. We have to stop the arthritis thing. Maybe not permanently, but I want to see if going off of it for a month. He's supposed to get his next shot on Wednesday, I think. No, Thursday. No, Wednesday? No, Tank is in for his Silencia on Wednesday. And now that I think about it, his eye has been more watery. Like, he has his one wonky eye. His eye has been a little bit more watery and upset, too. Is irritation a side effect? Like, irritation in general? Tank has been more zazzy lately. He's licking his legs a lot, too. I don't really trust the AIO review for that. Oh my god, I'm a terrible mom. That's the only thing that's changed in his life. He's never been allergic to anything before that he's been exposed to. I haven't changed cleaning products in years. I haven't changed my makeup product. Stands for my eyeliner went out of business and I need to change my eyeliner, but I don't think that would really make a difference for him because he's not wearing my eyeliner. Not really using any dramatically different hair products. Like, everything's from the same brand line except for one deep conditioner that I'm using. That's interesting they put him on a steroid, though. I wonder if Gunther takes a daily steroid. He takes cyclosporine for his stomatitis, for his teeth, for his little gummies and mouth. So I wonder if that's stopping it from having a more serious effect. I wish people wouldn't post things like that. That's like scare tactics. It doesn't give you cancer, it just may exacerbate the growth of it. It's like fear tactics. Like when I read about Chauncey and the Apoquil. I don't think Apoquil gave him cancer just because it exacerbates the growth of it. Did it help? Probably not, except for helping his skin. Chronic kidney disease, I think. I've also noticed he's been breathing heavier too. I think it said something about breathing. So maybe he's having like a constant slight allergic reaction. Oh my god, Gunther. I don't think we're gonna redo the shot. I want to take you off it for a month and see what changes. Dang. I understand people grieve and decide what their reality is, but you don't need to post things like, this is killing your cat, unless it literally is. would consider this like either dermatitis or like scabbing in the head or neck or bacterial skin infection, maybe. I don't know. Doesn't really say anything about the allergies perfectly. Individual cats had at least one of the following behavior changes, and one of them is sleeping with owner. Which, I mean, that's a cute little positive, but it's interesting. That they would tout that as a reaction. That's cute. Gunther has been more cryy, though. Thought he was just feeling better and talking a lot. I think we're gonna skip the next one and see if that makes a difference. One report of dermatitis. It's more like itchy, like flaky skin though, like scabby. Chauncey had really bad dermatitis. Oh, I didn't even look at the route of giving. Gunther gets it injected. I don't know if it's intramuscular or subcutaneous. I've never seen him be injected with it. You just do it for a tech visit and they take him back and then bring him forward. I don't know what this is. Severe, persistent, itchy skin can occur with or without a rash. And that's what he's been doing to his eyes. Son of a bitch. 357 reports for that. Scratching, 101 reports. Alopecia, which is hair loss, but not just like average hair loss. I wouldn't consider that. That's what I just looked up, right? That's what he's doing. That's what it looks like around his eyes right now. He's not quite that red. Jeez. It's more like that. Gunther, I'm sorry. I thought you were getting your old man arthritis helped. You don't know until you know, but he doesn't have any kidney or liver issues, though. His blood work was fantastic on his last report. Skin sore, reported 69 times. Sheesh. Welcome, Lucky Charms. Hope you're having a good night so far. Not to himself or herself. It's not funny, but it's an amusing report. Hot spots. I would say he has hot spots on his legs right now, starting because he's licking and then rubbing his eyes. Reddening of the skin. Gunther, I think your Silencia might be causing your little nudie Judy eyes. Agitation. It's possible. And it's bothering Tank a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'll take both of them off of it this month and see. Tank's just seemed like extra irritated. Oh, I started a little bit of Raising Hope last night and it was very cute. It was very cute. Oh, thank you so much, but the buzzer is broken. It is broken, unfortunately. I have not yet replaced it. Sad. Sad. I replaced the batteries in it with much hope, but it did not come back together. I know, big sad. I did. I just watched the first episode of the first season last night. Just only one. Only one. I'm gonna approach it in the same way that I did Modern Family. I get like one episode per pre-sleep. Watch something new that I don't know. One episode. And then I can fall asleep like halfway through an episode of something that I do know. So last night I watched an episode of Raising Hope, and then I put on... What did I put on? Superstore and snoozed. I did not know last night was daylight savings time. I feel jilted. It was painful. Gunther, I gotta go tinky. I think I may have solved your eye crisis, though. Your crisis. We're gonna skip your Silencia this month. And we're gonna see if that gets any better. Because that's no bueno. Poor buddy. He's so cute and sweet. He's the most adorable little gremlin that ever gremlined. I love him more than anything. I love you, Transformers. More than meets the eye. Your poor little nudie Judy eyes. I'm gonna fix that up for you, okay? I'm still gonna make an appointment for him to see my vet. Not just cancel his tech appointment. I'm gonna make a vet appointment for him too, because maybe he has like some ointment or something that I can put around. Like similar to the texture of like Tobermycin. That would be a good choice. I love my vet, but this is one of like the times that I get anxious about making an appointment for this stuff. Or going in for this stuff. I don't even know how to phrase this. My vet is very old school, which is good in the way that, you know, if something really serious happens, he just starts at the first level of diagnostics versus going into all of the crazy things that you get $1 million bill for, and half of the stuff you probably didn't even need to do, but they're going textbook and following step by step of the in-school protocol that they would have learned, or that the private practice dictates. But on the flip side, it's not that he ignores side effects to things, but he doesn't consider it a primary issue. He considers the issue to be a primary issue. So I'm going to feel pretty justified in going in and asking, like, okay, he's losing some hair around his eyes. Is there an ointment or a medication or a topical or something we can do for that? But I think he's going to laugh at me a little bit when I'm like, I think the silencia is causing it. Because when I'd called to ask if Chauncey's Apoquil was something that he should go off of after what I read about it, it's just like, yeah, that's fine to go off of it, but no panic on his end as I was panicking on my end. Hey, Licky boy. I gotta go tinky. You gotta stop licking inside your legs there. You gotta stop. Keeps licking his forearms. Like here. They're not hot spotty yet, like bald. But they're losing hair. I can see the irritation underneath. We're gonna pause your silencia, son. There you go. I shall return. My Friday turned the lights off. That's creepy. Creepy. Boy, he's being a little creeper underneath the Ottoman again. He's defending the Ottoman Empire. That's what he is doing. Cozy. 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 I don't know what to do with this chair, but I think I need to switch back to my other one. Because I'm finding this tilt to be uncomfortable, sadly. So I need to figure out how to perfectly fix it, or switch back for a little bit and throw this over at the French. Resume. Oh god, I forgot what I was doing. I guess we're approaching another day. Are we getting closer? According to... Yes, okay. Back in the right direction. I don't think I'm gonna make that jump. You boop 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 boop. Okay, that's not bad. It just sets you into a state of duress. I'm not getting up from that. I'm gonna get zapped. I have to go all the way back around again? I guess. Around and around and around we go. Where we stop, nobody knows. This feels like that episode of America's Next Top Model where they walk the runway through like the swinging pendulums. Stop! I forgot where I was. I forgot it. Up, 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 up. Up, 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 up. Yes. Okay. This fucking tower. Yay. What were your expectations of me? Oh, fuck! Why didn't you die? I mean, I guess we're not too far off. That was brutal. Gunther, stop licking honey. I understand you're a little itchy. But we're gonna let the Silencia wear off. His appointment was gonna be for 5 weeks instead of 4 weeks. So it's already starting to wear off to some extent, hopefully. But, yay! A door! Sounds like there's trouble in there. He's stuck. Help, step bro, I'm stuck. Good aiming would help. It's generally beneficial. Beneficial to the cause. Makes me nervous when it does that. I just feel like something huge is gonna spawn. You're a no-go. Of course the elevator is out of order. Are you on the other side of a wall? That didn't look transparent. Is it not? No, I'm hitting him. Oh! He's hitting me. Not ideal. Very not ideal. Ah! No, don't go out. Don't go out. Don't go out. You'll fall down. Foolish. I was right. The sound did mean something. At least we're indoors again. It's safe. I don't have to sweat as much. But we got a little time. Kind of. It takes a bit to reload. It's faster, but it's still slow. With the upgrade. Weapon upgrade point gained. We have 2. I don't think there's anything we can do with 2. No. And one of those. Some power up effectiveness. Sure. Why not? Where doth we go from here? Still more up. I don't think I can go through the honeycomb thing. I don't think that is for me. Probably jump. No. Oh, I'm gonna get run over. No, 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 no! Where is it gonna load us to? Oh no. I was just looking. Oh no. Gunther, save me. Stop licking your leg. Stop licking your leg. Oh, thank goodness. You're not glowing yet. That was ambitious. Now, you and your little friend should have used something else. Is the Hell Knight gonna come out of somewhere? Is he behind me? Do we not get the same spawns each time? Now I'm scared. Oh, there he is. I found him. I found him. I found you. Do 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 do. You gotta stop licking your legs, bud. My dear friend. I need ammo. Oh god, no, not again! That's why you don't like trains. Just kidding, kind of. Ammo. Yeah, you're still going. Can I jump on top of that? What am I trying to accomplish here? This is brutal. I don't know what this is. I don't like this. I don't think this is correct. Oh, green. Train platform? Yes. Calculated risk. Where now? I don't think that's a way. You look like I should jump on you, but maybe not. Impact compensation. Where am I? I need a flashlight. Oh, it just took us back down to the bottom. Okay. I don't feel like that was right, but where else would there be to go? Back this way? That's what the objectifier says. Well, just because you think that's the way to go doesn't mean that is the way to go, because I don't have lift access. So close yet so far. I do not see any other valid ways to go. Don't understand. I did the math. And then I died it. Fell in a hole. Hey Gunther, you have the longest tongue ever. No, stop hitting me! God damn it! Why is that train so mean? Ugh. Oh, okay. More pathways? Is that a way? Oh, okay. That's a way. That's a way. Way to what? I don't know. That's a way. Do you have the elevator keys? Please. You have a Praetor token. You don't have shit that I need. Useless. So I just here, or is this a new level? This is a new floor, I think. I'm just a girl. I was not built for figuring things out. I'm just a girl. Oh, are we gonna have to fight her? I don't want to fight her. Just realized that. We have a weapon called a hologram. What? This ancient piece of tech is as effective today as when it was first invented in the early 21st century. So, like, now? The holocaster discharges an invisible cloud of ionized argon, which a camera then uses to project an image through. Refracted light creates a holographic effect above the device. The decoy image has a broad color spectrum and can be quite convincing. Okay. I don't know what you want me to do with that, but thank you. I can go through the lift now. Kind of. It's out of order. It's unfortunate. Pray. For what? I don't know. Do I need to shoot those? Oh, yes. Okay. This feels very Wolfenstein-y. He fell down. Good God. Good God, Lemon. Are we there? Oh my God, we're there. We did it. Now we're probably gonna have to fight a bitch. And that's concerning. Need to press any buttons. No. No. I don't think we found a codex entry. A pada. This whole level. It's weird. It's very weird. Yes, it is. Oh, good God. Well. At least I know there's no one behind me. I'm gonna die. This is right off the bat. I'm gonna die. I'm cooked. Okay. We have like this whole big arena about us. Shit. Okay. You are right there. How am I not hitting you? Just by process of proximity. You should be eliminated. I don't think I want to be running around with this. We're gonna jump into, not him, but like that territory. Dear God. It's a beneficial toss. Oh, nope, nope. Didn't want that. Why is there so many of you? Oh, oh. What? That was weird. Was there a timer somewhere on the screen? That was weird and abrupt. down, PlayStation. That was very weird. Kadingir? Kadingir? Kadinger? Sanctum? The Hell Portal is not open back on Mars. Lost in the Hell Dimension, you are unable to stop the demons from absorbing our world. Kill everything you see and find a way back to Mars. Okay. We've now gone places. Uh-oh. Kadingir Sanctum? Oh yeah, that would make more sense. Kadinger. Oh god. That sounds thrilling. Glorious. Wonderful. Sounds like it's about to be my new favorite place. Sploot. I mean, it's pretty cool looking. It's bad as hell. I'm about to get hurt bad as hell. But it's pretty nice looking. I shall claim this as my castle. She misgendered. Ay, 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 ay. I'm guessing that's either gonna open the door or make monsters. It opened the door. Y'all are dead. We good. This is cool. I mean, I guess if you're gonna put someone on a completely different plane of existence, you do have to build a big tower of transport to get oneself there. Yup.
We'll set up a portal
Oh.
to exit the tube. Use the light poles to mark our path.
We follow the light tubes. Follow the green tube trail. What are you? Are you just for decoration? Am I supposed to do something with you? I don't think so. I think it's just for decoration. This is starting off way too quiet and making me very nervous. Where do I want to be going? These shots are not kill shots. He did it again, the my back pose. Boop, not too far. I don't want to just pancake myself. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There's music that means things. Ooh, what are you? It's like a Gauss cannon? What do you do? Whoa. Okay. Someone behind me. Yep. Don't knock me over, don't knock me over! Shoot at the ground and pray. Why did I get none of you? Oh, pathetic. Is there still trouble brewing? I wanted to check out this schmancy thing. Not actually use it, just look at it. It's pretty. Tis enthralling. Whee! That was an ambitious jump. Sploot! It's very nice. It's very nice indeed. I don't think I'm supposed to walk in that. It looks like a no-go. Oh, there's stairs on the other side of that. How can you such a pussy about the edge? It's for like a good reason. I fall off the edge a lot. I don't use the chainsaw, not at all. Oh, nope. Time to try this little fun thing out. Stunning. In 3 shots. That made me happy. Shmemo. Our objective is find the exit portal. Oh, this thing is too cool. That's the easy button right there. It's beautiful. You're done? What are you doing over there? Green guideposts. Where are all the green guideposts taking us? I guess we're not going further this way. To be fair. Where'd you go? Nope. I gotta hit you, not you hit me. Don't do that. He's a keep away professional. Green blinky guidepost. Okay. Is there a safer way down? I guess this way. Nope. What are you? We haven't seen any of the spider monkey guys left. We can't be anywhere close to halfway through the game yet. I wonder if we'll see them down here in hell. I think we have up to like max 180 health now, which is so beautiful. It's very nice. It looks like a dead tomato head guy. Maybe we'll see some of him too. Ooh, a secret door? I don't know how to unlock your secrets. I don't think it has anything to do with the dead thing. Do I need something? Knock. Where's the doorbell? It's me, Doom Guy. Open up. Oof. I don't know where this is gonna be. We are in for an adventure. There's a cave and a big guy over there. I guess over there. Where'd he go? Good lord. There's 2 of them. And he's gonna jump on my butt. Found a new arena. Which hopefully we'll find a key card in. Who's the other guy? How does it do on him? You have to actually hit him though. That would help. Decent. Oh, you are not my friend. Oh my god. That's not what I was going for. Fuck. Oh, I don't want to deal with you. Epic soundtrack time. And it was a firefight. being so tall. Don't do that to me. Unnecessary conduct. They'll just monkeying around everywhere. Good lord. Oh, hey now. That was not nice. Hey now. Hey now. This is what nightmares are made of. I think they accomplished their goal with this. It's like very doomed church sounds. Oh god. Why? Why'd you just be here doing the things that you be doing? There are two of them and I am in a corner. This is not ideal. No! That's my secret weapon! Why did I waste it? Ah! Panic shooting. Panic shooting will not be in your favor, woman. Come on now. Gah! He stomped on my head. He stepped on me. I'm not into that kind of thing. That was not consensual. But I don't think neither was me killing all his friends. Them two came out with a vengeance. They said, we got her, boss. And you sure did. Look. Okay, we're gonna be a little more conservative with that. Where did it leave me off at? I don't know this environment yet. That's far back. There was some nice tunes though, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed that. I had to get you guys again. I don't wanna. Yeah, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. And it's not this. Oh yeah, just miss. Will an aid go that far? Decent. They all exploded at the same time and just had their legs left. Maybe that's not nice to laugh at, but it was funny. It was funny, honey bunny. M. The stairs. Is? Think. Then trouble. Trouble. Nope. This one is like just only for you. It's special for you. Not for anyone else. It's only for you. Oh, got him in 3 shots before. Wait, did it get him? Did he fall down? I'm not worrying about it at the moment. Stop panic shooting. You're not in the panic point yet. You're not there yet. You're pre-panicking. That's just that. Ah! Look at you being you over there. I think it makes a bigger hit to him if I get him with the rocket while he's about to fire his rockets. I think it double rockets. I don't know. But I think I've observed that a couple times, unless I'm just imagining it. I'm just glad he doesn't have me seeking missiles anymore. Bloop. Go You miss perfectly. You don't get that anyway. It's not for you, sweet babu. Okay, key to the door. That way was where? And is big trouble over there. Let's try for some pre-elimination. That's a little too far in than I'm meant to be. A bit muchy. A bit much. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what anything is. Just running away. Most arenas are circular to some extent anyway. Oh. You. What do you mean low ammo? How many shells does it take each shot? Shit. I think it takes multiple at a time. We had way more than just 9. And I don't think I used it more than 15 or 16 times. Shit. 9. And then it does take, oh my god. I didn't know that. That's a scam. Okay. New strategy. New strategies. I have no strategy. And I'm gonna die. Please spawn me health. You. Stop panicking. It's not the time to panic yet. It's the music. I blame the music. Creates a sense of unrest and detest. Bloop, bloop, bloop. It's a cave. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a cave. I don't know where I have ended up over here. Where are we now? Oh. You're not fun. Damn it. Jump. Jump like your life depends on it. You bitch. You bitch. You need distance. Or is you going to blow yourself up? I'm in a corner. Oh my god. Not good. Not good. Very not good. Checkpoint reached. I don't know what that checkpoint is, but I'll take it. That was horrible. I'm tense. Relax your shoulders. That was brutal. Never make me do that again. That was monstrous. Am I still looking for like a key or something? Oh, I thought I was gonna make that. I was gonna say, we can jump so far now. Where did that come from? But no. What are you going to do? Will you open the door? Is that the key? Are you the key master? Are you the gatekeeper? I am so lost. That is not the way. I don't know what I was going for there. I think the door was above this. It's that. It's fiery blue stuff. I think you're a different door. I don't know what you are. Not for me. Up these steps? I am truly just going in circles. Was it? Oh, we went over a ledge a little bit. So back this way? Yes? Yes. I think. No? Then what did pushing the thing do? Isn't there another something over here? So what did I activate? I have no clue. I know not what I have done. That really didn't open that? I'm gonna scream. What opens you then? What? I'm not an explorer. I get lost. What did the other thing do? I am baffled. I am not of the knowing. I'm guessing green fire bad. Oh, green fire no hurt. What do you want me to do or find or seek or enter or open? Did I not do this completely? Did I do it wrong? Oh, we're not glowy anymore. What did I do? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. This is true hell. Being this lost. Didn't do anything to that. I don't know how we ended up on the sidelines of there. No, up, up, up. Not that. It had to have opened something. I just don't know what. That's a cool looking door though. Reminds me of the doors in 3. Welcome, Smoops. Hope the weekend has been kind to you. Blurp. I am going in circles. I'm going to consult the professionals. It opened our hearts. Yes. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Matters not the gameplay, just the memories that we make along the way. I don't know where I am. What was this called? I made fun of it, but I didn't pay attention. Kadinger's Sanctum. Kadinger. Kadinger. Consult professionals. Sploot. Like, I did not get far, and I am lost. We don't have to zoom in too much. It opened our hearts. Hey, you gonna press it? No? What did you do to activate it? Oh, there's still monsters, that's why. Oh, I didn't realize I had this whipped all the way over here. Oopsies. I'm locked in. They were the last two guys, and then he should be able to go and boop the thing, and then I can observe whatever I have missed. Keep reading me out the chainsaw. To be fair, prior to Eternal, I was never really a chainsaw girly, and in Eternal you kind of have to. Oh, where was that? Bitch, that's how I get through the yellow door. I need to know how to get through the yellow door. Follow the yellow brick road. Where were you? But everything looks the same. Ha. I don't think I've used the chainsaw once successfully. In this one so far. Is it useful in this one or just for funsies? On the platforms. Where was on the platforms? Over yonder there-ish. Where did they go? Which way did they go? Which way did they go? I am often low on ammo. I think I need to start implementing the chainsaw. Chainsaw I've been terrible about implementing, and remembering that I have weapon mods. Those are two skills I need to hone in on before we get much further. Otherwise it won't be very natural to yoink them. Or there's an armor somewhere, but it felt like the stream cut for a second, like he deleted a portion. Ran through there and then around that. Like it flips around, that's weird. I don't know what perspective he's looking from now. Fall down. Well, it's in one of the green caves. I don't know which one, but one of them. Okay, we just searched all of the green caves. Sheesh. That was where one button was, and I don't know what that button did, but it did something. I just don't know what. We do not continue in that direction. Green flames. I feel like we were just out that one. I just took myself that way. there another green cave up here that I missed? No. What was the picture? I don't know what he's looking at over here. That looks bad as hell though. Sag. I cannot figure out where bro is looking. I have been in all of the green caves. I want the yellow key. God damn it, D. Where is it, Gunther? Go fetch it for me. Go find it. There are more green caves up here. No, that's where the yellow is. This is my personal purgatory. Being this lost, stuck. This is a very aptly created hell. Up there? How in the heck would we get up there? Oop. To these? To those? That's possible? I don't know what I was just looking at. I'm horrible with directions. Okay, boop, boop, boop. A boop, boop, boop. I don't think I was supposed to be able to activate that from here. Oh, it's just showing it to me. What a cock tease. I didn't think that was gonna let me up there. The green caves will be the end of me. Because you're telling me I went all that way and it's not what I thought it was. Where is this specific green cave that is not this green cave or any of the other green caves? Oh my goodness golly gosh. I don't know why I thought that would work. Oh, there it is. Why was that not so obvious? Because I'm a short girl. Spend my time looking at eye level, not down. Because down is already so close. Where was the yellow door? I have no sense of direction, like at all. Wait, was there more? Oh, it looked like there's more cave. No more cave for you. I am a professional at getting lost. Oh my god, how do I get... Listen back to where it was before. Through here. I think? You're a stairway. Which way do you go? It's not the way, but is it a way to anything? No. It's just for decoration. How? I'm going in the same circle again. Definitely not that way. I feel like it was this way. Yes? Yes. I found it. Good eye. I didn't see it. A million times over. That was brutal. The Eye of Sauron. Let's traverse a little bit more hell. And then hit the hay. Not immediately. But shortly. Excuse me. It has been a long day, and the coffee is not coffeeing. Brutal. What are you? Story time. Against Voldemort. Slayer. Okay, I guess it's a little badass now. Sploot. Oh, so close yet so far. I'm glad it doesn't let me impale myself on those things. I just jumped into that a little recklessly. Just for funsies for a little minute. Oh, there's a lot going on over here. It's a lot happening. It's one of them. I don't want this. Oh god, and it's you. No. It's two of you. No. 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 This is not going to go well. Scoop up some armors. Where'd this flying bitch go? Oh god, I'm gonna die. Where's health? I think I saw health down here. But I feel like jumping down here is going to cause a whole new set of problems. But do we have a choice at this point? I don't know. I haven't found out yet. I'm dead. Didn't get a chance to find out. Screams are fantastic. From them or from me? Oh, Gunther! Do you want to come back up, buddy? He's just sitting so patient at my feet. Oh. This is how Gunther looks at you when he wants to guilt trip you and make you feel like a jerk. How do I lock my screen orientation? There. I think he just wanted to be exposed, or to expose me, because now he walked away. Or I embarrassed him. I don't know which. I don't know which. Let's attempt to stay alive. Otherwise, this room may be a tomorrow Serena room. We're all the way back here. That's not cool. Pardon. Are you pre-activated? Yes. Ba-da-ba-ba. Oh, we came in through the gold doors. The golden doors. Fuck it. Yay, yay, yay. Too close for comfort, my friend. Don't get your health marked this time. The two big guys are gonna come out from where? From somewhere. Die! I really wanted to get even less shots. Oh my god, get off my butt. Get off my butt. Oh, you just plain old died. Okay, I'll take it. Bruv. Leave me alone. No ammo, that's not good. Fuck you. She does damage. Swing and a miss. I'm dead. Oh god. He's looking down at himself like, how can you do this to me, Serena? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The classic maps menu. Oh, a secret that unlocks. I'm not secret oriented. Okay. Let us once more attempt survival. Don't really know what the best mode of explodes is in here. Well, they came out fast. It was unanticipated. Thought I had some room to breathe for a second, but no. Why would you have that tough of me? Just try to attempt to sustain no damage from the little guys. There's health over here. Gotta remember that. Fucking bitch. Still worth it. perfect timing for her to move. Ah, I'm taller than you. That's not gonna help for long, but no, it's worth it in the moment. Maybe, I don't know. God. There's two of them. Get got. Why is there more of you? I'm dead. Went from 125 to nothing real fast there in the land of health. Shikeys. Shikeys. Find the exit portal. How the fuck did the UAC get out of here? I thought our health got bumped up to 180 at some point. It took it away. It said, you don't deserve this, Serena. I don't think I effectively accomplished anything. I'm gone. Nope. Okay, we're still going. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Guys. Is it giving me a break? Where are they? The lower level? Oh god. Why did I come out with the rocket blaster? Shoot. 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 Literally, shoot. Yikes. Yikes. You look mad. Panic shooting has ensued. I need health. This room is not my friend. It's not my friend. One, maybe two more tries, and then it's tomorrow, Serena, or next stream, Serena's problem. Gotta remember there's health back in there, you silly goose. You silly, silly goose goose. Goose goose moose moose on the loose loose. Don't need to get all up in there right away. We can do it, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. I spawned over here before, guys. Don't be switching up on me like that. Oh my god, okay, that's good on her. Yes. Yeah, baby. I have reinvigorated. There's another one of you. Why? Why? I came really too close to me, oopsies. I'm gonna blow myself up. No. No, we came so far. I'm not dying. I'm not. I refuse. There's health somewhere. I'm not dying. I refuse. Fuck you. Oh. I guess it doesn't matter what my head blew off. Want unlimited ammo of a spaceship gun. What is it called? The Gaunt something? The Gaunt cannon? The Gauss cannon. Gotta remember there's health back in there too, you goober. How you know die? Yeah, I tried so hard, got so far. In the end, I still fucking died. At least I'm consistent. At least I am consistent. The song was on the radio when I was driving home with Mr. Tigra. I get superstitious about the radio. And I didn't know what that song was trying to tell me. Don't question that level of Serena crazy. I feel like she gets butthurt when you hit her real good. Jeez. But then she runs even further away. I need to stop blowing myself up. Let's make a commitment to better choices here. And then oh, it doesn't let you go back for the health, you fucking butt. You butt. You're just a butt. That's all you are is a butt. I need health. I need health. There's some around a corner somewhere. I don't know what that corner was. It was this corner. Little Jack corner. Sat in a corner. Trying not to fucking die. I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Something sounds really angry. I'm scared. And my health is back at 9. Oh my god. This is not good. 39. Okay, that's something. That's something at least. Okay. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Do we swim? You're not my problem right now. Not my circus, not my monkeys. You evil, psycho, crazy cunt. I don't like you. You are not my friend. We are not buddy pals. Where are you? Where have you gone? Waste, but don't care anymore. Just let me live. Don't panic, just aim. There you go. Good girl. Probably have a decent amount of... Oh no, I thought I picked up some plasma schmammo. Ah! No! No! You will not thwart me! No! 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 There's another one! I can't do this anymore. I'm tired, Forrest. As soon as you think it gets a little better, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. That's yeah, he euthanized me. He eliminated me. That's oh my god. My ego says, do it again, do it again, do it again, and my sanity says, go the fuck to bed. I think we're going on the sanity bandwagon. There's more. There's just more, and then more, and then more, and then more, and then more. I'm not gonna enjoy myself. Well, I mean, like, I will, but I'm gonna be a little bit of myself for leaving at this point and walking into all of that. But I don't think I'm accomplishing anything with these two brain cells rubbing together, attempting it tonight. I just don't. Ego versus eco. And eepies versus oopsies. Good night, PlayStation. You did us well. The song I left us paused on is aptly named Pray Tonight. Pray. Big stretch. I'm really glad I thought to look up Gunther's thing. I want to email that to myself so that I have it on my phone. Everything where we want it over here. that was good effort. Good attempt. Round of applause, Club Cult. Round of applause. We did good. We'll get him next time. Need coffee to feed the zoo. It's been a long day. It was so warm out today, though. I think it got up to like the upper 70s. It was kind of windy, so it didn't feel as warm as it was. I walked the dogs. It was an eye-watering experience. I need doggles. Excuse me. For myself while walking the dogs. It was fantastic. It was an attempt. I don't know if it was fantastic, but it was an attempt. There was an attempt. Oh, I feel scrunchy tonight. It is a cozy stream. Cozy. Cozy. Oh, I forgot PB's tunnel got here today. Save it for next stream to open up with you guys. But her little tunnel is here. The weird little, like, hippo-shaped one. The same one that Stripes, Nibbler, and Daisy had. It's so ugly. Where are my purchases? This one. Oop, that's me. This funky little monkey. Safe and durable. It's so ugly and awkward. What were we calling it? The catfish tunnel, I think. I think it's supposed to be a cat, but it has like a hippo mouth. Just reminds me of a catfish. Minus the whiskers. Aw, pretty kitty. Pretty. I think she will enjoy it. Thank you for a wonderful night, Club Cult. I appreciate you all very much. I do, I do, I do, I do. I do, I do, I do. Oh, what did I just do? I don't know what button I pressed, but sometimes I accidentally turn on the flashlight on my watch, and sometimes I just make it buzz at random. And I still haven't figured out what correlation of buttons is actually doing that. Creaky! Tomorrow I may switch back chairs. It's way too easy to just lean and have horrible posture here, and I don't think that's helping me. I don't think so. hair's wild tonight. I have bedhead. I slept crazy this afternoon. Took a nap with Tigra. Because he missed out on mom time yesterday. He was such a good boy while I was gone, though. I'm so proud of him. And I slept crazy. I had weird ass dreams. I had a dream that my neighbors surrendered their cat to me. It was way more intense and dramatic than that, but like, all the things to dream. All the things to dream. It was a weird one. He is the new guy. My little brindle babe. He's named after the Thundercats. Because his name was Tiger at his old home. So I figured, if that's all you've known your entire life, why change it now? Now he's Tigra. Lion-O's either second in command or his brother. I don't remember which. Does that mean they're both Tigons and Ligers if they're related? Oh, he's his second in command. It's not his brother. That's his namesake. He does kind of match the picture a little bit. He has like the opposite of like the eye shapes. He was being people at the vet. He was climbing on the bench. I thought I took up a close-up of his face at some point. There's Gunther's close-up. Oh, he was being a creeper. I was in the bathroom and he was just staring at me from his place board. And then slowly moseying over. He has like the opposite of the eye pattern or the color pattern that Tigra does though. On top of his head is almost a perfect heart shape though. I like this trend with heart animals. It's almost perfect. It's so cute. I was still kind of on the fence about what his name would be, but I think it's firmly Tiger now. Keep calling him Tigra Banks. It's fun though. I can do the Wakuk skit with him and Pippi. Tiger Woods. It's my birthday, because Pippi is like old and senile. She's not really senile, but we can make fun of her that way. I keep verbalizing the skit to them. Tigra Woods, it's my birthday.
It's good. It's good. Hey, how's it going, Grandma?
Going pretty good here, Sammy Boo.
It's good.
Living my whitest kids you know dream every day now.
Grandma, did you poop on the floor?
What?
Grandma, is that your poo on the floor?
What is
Grandma.
Your poo on the floor? Did you make a poop on the floor, Grandma?
I poop in the toilet. Why would I poop on the floor?
No, Grandma, you pooed on the floor. Look at it. It's right there.
Baby pooed in the parking garage yesterday. She poops on the floor.
That looks like doggy poop.
No, it looks like Grandma poop on account of the medication.
Well, I don't remember pooping on the floor.
Yeah, of course you don't remember pooping on the floor. You have Alzheimer's, Grandma.
Oh, well, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
Sorry's not going to clean it up, Grandma, so chop chop. Let's get a rag and a mop, all right? Come on.
Okay, I'm going. It's just so hard getting off of this couch.
It's gross. It smells. I don't want to look at it. I'm just fucking with you, Grandma.
Just fucking with me, Grandma.
No,
At least Tiger doesn't, or Pippi doesn't punch Tiger in the arm or vice versa.
No, you have Alzheimer's, Grandma. That's why you're so wicked gullible all the time.
Oh,
So what you watching?
the newsman's on.
The newsman, huh? What's the newsman have to say?
Well, some terrorist blew up some embassy over in France.
The bomb, the car itself was reported to be badly damaged. A number of cars alongside it are also reported.
Grandma, what'd you do?
What?
You blew up an embassy?
No, I was not the terrorist.
This is going to be my one piece of media that I bring with me to a deserted island if I ever get stranded there.
You got undressed, you slut, and then you blew up the embassy with your
If I get one download from YouTube, it's this.
I'm not finished. And then you came back here, you got dressed, you pooped on the floor. You pooped on the floor. You pooped on the floor, Grandma. And then you turned on the TV to watch
Your
your
evil
deadly
deeds unfold.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Sammy.
It's okay, just don't think of me, or you'll blow me up with your mind powers, all right? All right, don't. Oh, what? I'm just fucking with you, Grandma. Come on.
Punch is so solid.
Do you have that $20 you owe me?
I guess so.
Hand it over. Thank you. Watch out for that tiger.
Tiger? Here?
Tiger Woods.
What kind of tiger? Tiger
A
Woods.
tiger.
Golfing. It's my birthday.
Dude, you're really mean to your grandmother. It's not my grandma. It's just some lady who leaves her door open.
The last portion of dialogue I keep repeating over and over and over.
Let's go.
Tigra! Tiger Woods! It's all in good fun. I don't know, I like the idea of a fresh start, but at the same time, when a dog is at least 4, if not closer to 6 or 7, and you've known one name your whole life, like maybe it's disruptive to have that changed. No, I feel like he already knew his name, and then it shouldn't be changed. Like Diesel already knew his name, so I didn't rename Diesel. And 1,000 different cute names for Diesel. I would have loved to name Diesel Buck, but he already came pre-installed with Diesel software. I wanted to name him Buck after Call of the Wild. Has more of a Ringo look, but I don't care. The attitude is Buck. The new one of this is actually really, really cute. Well, new-ish. I guess 2020. It's on Disney. I don't know if it's a Disney or not, but it's on Disney. It's cute. The old version. This is the one I grew up with. My grandpa got me horse movies and books, and my paternal grandpa got me horse movies and books, and my maternal grandmother got me dog movies and books. Oh, I closed it out! I totally thought it was on the screen. That's how we know it's time for bed. I didn't even have it playing. I was just enjoying it on my own little merry way. GG's, Serena. The Call of the Wilds and then sleeps. I got no brain cells left. This is quiet. Ew.
I wish you hadn't.
Why not?
Oh, I hadn't let myself think about us. I didn't dare.
What?
It's funny, I don't really remember a love story portion.
Well, I had some sort of a strange premonition. Something I can't exactly explain.
Explanation belongs 5,000 miles away.
This is the original one. This is the one I grew up with. I think there was another one made in like the 70s, 80s, 90s. Somewhere in between. I think this is the third The Disney one is the third remake.
I wouldn't presume to teach you feminine psychology, but I might add.
Mighty cast, a mighty picture. Call of the Wild.
Asked to do something, she's more apt to obey than when she's commanded.
She's got a point. Uh, 2000 they did another one. This one I watched when I was a kid too.
I'll never forget the first time I saw a buck. I've been in 40 Mile for 3 years. I've seen a lot of dogs come and go at the auctions. There's no doubt it just knew he was the greatest dog I'd ever seen.
What's the voice of this narrator?
Buck felt the work. He knew the weight he'd have to pull and his place with the other dogs.
Buck saw us through the storm. Thought he might die. It almost killed him.
It's okay, boy. You're gonna be okay.
It's interesting how your perception changes. I remember Buck looking extremely wolfy. And now it's very clear that, like, bitch is a husky.
I will give you Buck.
I knew I'd made a very bad mistake. Gonna die. We wouldn't survive for long. We had to go on. He was ready. The call of the wild was in his soul.
He's a very pretty husky. The Call of the Wild. I mean, the book is good too, but I feel like the movie would make a show out of it. It's a movie. To be fair though, the book isn't very big. I might have it. Oh, it should be in my classics. I don't see it right at first glance. I see Jaws. That's a different kind of dog though. That's a shark dog. Where's my Call of Wild? Where's my Jack Londons? I do not know. I have the book somewhere. Maybe they're in favorites and they didn't get categorized into classics. I don't know. I don't see. But I think they're about as thick as this book. So not like a huge story. But they definitely could put their own little spins on it and make it into a show. That would be wonderful. Actually, based on the ending, that would be a really cool spin-off. I don't want to spoil it if no one's ever seen or read it, but there's potential for that. It's very cute. Okay, now it's bedtime because I don't even know what's on my screen anymore. Good night. Good night, Club Cult. Good night. I'm just going to put a pillow over here on the side of my desk. Put on some lullabies. Good night. There you go. Perfect. Actually, it's like way too sleepy mode. I still have to feed the zoo. Nope. That started off as a joke and it got way too serious. Thank you all for a wonderful night, Club Cult. Cheers to you all. Thank you for your time, your chats, your support, and your company. Most of all, thank you for being used. And thank you very much for your time. Your time is very valuable. You can make more money, you can make more friends, you can make more attacher bottom things for things. You can make more foofy balls. You cannot make more time. And thank you so much for yours. Whether it is for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours, if I don't see you again for 2 years. Our times collide is beautiful, magical, amazing, and marvelous. I am oh so grateful. say goodnight, Serena, and trudge my way to feed the zoo in bed. I don't want to. I want to just have infinite energy. I woke up late this morning, even though I barely slept with the time difference. So I was up at like 10. I didn't fall asleep until a little after 6, which I don't understand. I had like a crisis when I realized last night that it had gone from like 2 to 3 like that. I didn't know it was daylight savings. So it was too late to take ADHD meds this morning. And then I slept past my alarm a little bit this evening. And then it was too late to take them, and I'm just zero gas in the tank. Zero fuel. Thank you for being here for the stream. Yeah, I want my hour of sleep back. That was abrupt. That fucked me raw, no lube. Nothing. Just stuck into my life. Usually I'm pretty, oh god, my dad is living in a different time zone now. Because it changed. Usually I'm very good at staying on top of when, daylight savings time is. So I'm, like, prepared for it. Whether it's, I extend myself a little bit more because I know I get a free hour of sleep, or whether I pull back a little bit more because I know I'm going to lose an hour of sleep. But I did not have any clue that was happening this weekend. And I like to be able to, prepare as well, because this one kind of fucks me up a little bit more mentally. I feel like everyone gets way bothered by the one in the fall. Like, it makes sad more, like sad feelings and seasonal affective depression, and I feel bad, but I do pretty great with that one. It's this one that kind of fucks up my head for a few weeks. So if I seem a little grumpy, it's nothing personal. I'm just adjusting to the change in the world, but now my dad is living an hour behind me. So I need to remember when I stop at his house and it says it's 1 p.m. that it's actually 2 p.m. because he doesn't change his clock. He just adjusts his mind, which is lovely for him. It really is kind of cool, and I'm a little jealous, but it makes life confusing. Yeah, I want my hour of sleep back, too. Oh, I have a yawn coming on. Excuse me. Pardon. Tonight was fun, though. We accomplished a lot. We just hit an impervious roadblock. And that's okay. We'll get through it. If you guys want to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff. The socials. Some more fun stuff. The sketch for when I will see you Bebs next. And thank you all for being a part of the stream, The Dreams Project. Thank you, BBs, for being here for the stream. I do declare I appreciate all of your time very much. Thank you. It is a valuable commodity, and I cherish it. I appreciate it. I am grateful. I am humbled. And I'm tired. Do me one favor until I see you next, and that is, remember that you are wonderful, amazing, absolutely spectacular, oh so awesome, all of the good things in the world, oh so gorgeous, and oh so marvelous and phenomenal. Take all of those compliments and put them in your back pocket, your side pocket. I am Gunther Floofified. Oh dang, the downside to being redhead, and it's gonna be even worse when I'm blonde, is that we can see my hair on me too, jeez. Your hoodie pocket, your shirt pocket, floating in suspended animation or wherever it needs to go until I see you next, you sweet bubbos. Have a beautiful rest of your night. Get some good sleep. Get some good eats. Cheers to starting off the week as wonderfully as we can. Make good choices. Don't do anything Voya or I wouldn't do, but Voya makes many choices, so choose your own adventure if you lean more towards his mentality on that one. I shall see you, Bubs, for the next one, but thank you all so much for a wonderful wonderful Sunday Funday. Sheevening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shall see you all for the next one, Club Cult. Get some good eeps. Know that you are wonderful and you are cherished. Good nighty night.